My involvement in scouting has been in the order of about 10 years, and through the latter part of it, I've got to know John Derbyshire, who's the Chief Commissioner of Scouts here in South Australia. The appointment of John as the South Australian branch Chief Commissioner was confirmed by the Governor-General of Australia. The Governor-General of Australia is the Chief Scout of Australia. So this happened back in 2006. So John's been in the role for a few years now, 5+ years, and he's led Scouts SA, South Australia Scouting Movement, through growth over those years. Now, John will actually have a bit of a, what's the term I can use for it? You'll be entertained. But he will talk a bit about the history of Scouts, a bit about the youth movement, but also he will talk about Scouts the business. And believe it or not, it might be a youth movement. There certainly is a huge infrastructure of business behind Scouts. So please, everyone, join me in welcoming John Derbyshire.
President Bryan, Rotarians, guests. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today to talk about Scouting, which is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Scouting, I can say from the go-get, is both alive and well today, and it offers young people adventure and the chance to have a lot of fun. But I hasten to add, it is fun with a purpose. We set out to enhance the physical, intellectual, social, spiritual and emotional development of young people so that they can take a constructive place in society as responsible citizens. In a world where we're constantly reminded of financial volatility, political upheaval, environmental vandalism and human suffering, Scouts is a welcome and real good news story. In my brief from Giuliano, I was given strict instructions about what to speak about today. He told me I was to be interesting, entertaining, and was to provide information about Scouting and the role it plays in today's society. Additionally, I was to mention our Scout businesses that support our operation in South Australia. So, let's get on with it. Scouting is really about doing things, not just listening. And to help me realise my instructions, I decided that I would conduct a Trivial Pursuit quiz as part of my talk. I therefore invite you to jot down the answers to the quiz questions that I ask, and I advise that I will have prizes for those who get 100% at the end of the day. Our first question then is, the Canary Islands in the Pacific are named after what animal? Just over 100 years ago, the founder of Scouts, Lord Robert Baden-Powell, took 20 young boys from London to an experimental camp on Brownsea Island, which is located in the southern part of England. This camp is considered to be the birth of the Scout movement as we know it. So, who was Baden-Powell? And no, that's not a quiz question, that one's rhetorical. BP was born in London on the 22nd of February in 1857 and was to die in Kenya on the 8th of January 1941, just prior to his 84th birthday. He was born to a family of 10 children, and his father died when BP was only 3. He never shone at school. He wasn't lazy. He was just more interested in sport and other things, and was particularly loved being in the woods, hunting and living. In 1876, he decided, a wise move on his behalf, that he would join the army, and he applied to gain one of the 130 commissions that were on offer at that time. On September 11, 1876, he received his commission. Successful candidates at that time were usually then sent off to Sandhurst to do a 2-year training course, but the top 6 were immediately assigned to regiments and posted overseas, and BP was in that top 6. In December of 1876, he sailed with the 13th Hussars bound for Bombay in India. Now question 2. What was King George VI's first name? BP was a gifted soldier with a fine sense of humour who soon won the respect of his men. During the years that followed, he served in Afghanistan, Malta and South Africa. And it was in Africa that he began to give lessons on scouting and issuing badges to those soldiers who reached certain standards. Badges are still a very important part of scouting. Young people like to learn new things, and we seek to cultivate the habit of feeling that work is both interesting and worthwhile. And we achieve this in part by introducing an awards scheme into each section and issuing badges as members develop their personal abilities. Question 3. What country first made Panama hats? BP became famous during the Boer War for his defence of a small railway village called Mafeking. Commanding a force of only 800, he was besieged by 9,000 Boer soldiers. His outnumbered force held out against these immense odds for 217 days, and it was during that siege that scouting really took shape. BP did not have enough men to perform all the necessary tasks, so he used boys as messengers and called them scouts. They performed admirably. Scouting has come a long way since then, and today we have over 30 million members in 155 countries throughout the world, and they all enjoy what Scouts has to offer. Scouting is by far the largest voluntary youth organisation in the world, and 3/4 of our members are in the Asia-Pacific region. Just for interest, Scouting internationally ranges in size from 52 members in Monaco to 4 million in Thailand to 17 million Scouts operating in Indonesia. Officially, there are only 6 countries in the world where Scouting does not operate. Our fundamental principles of duty to God, duty to others, and duty to ourselves is not acceptable there. These countries are the People's Republic of China, North Korea, Myanmar, Cuba, the People's Republic of Laos, and Andorra. And for those of you who are unsure, Andorra is a landlocked country between Spain and France and has a population just a little over 85,000 people. If Scouting was to become recognised in China, and we are optimistic that it will in due course, our numbers may double or even triple with that single stroke. In Australia, young boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 26 are offered a wealth of contemporary challenges and activities, each designed to teach valuable life skills. And all are served with a great helping of fun. And yes, people, we do have girls in Scouting, and we have since about 1981. They currently represent something over 33% of our total membership. So what then is Scouting? It's a non-political educational life game that young people play under the leadership of volunteers, and we encourage these people to educate themselves rather than be instructed. We achieve this by encouraging youth to participate in challenging activities and new adventures. We refer to this simply as learning by doing, and put simply, we teach young people to live, not just how to make a living. Now, question 4. How long did the 100-Year War last? Scouts everywhere apply what we call the Scout method, and this involves a commitment to a code of living, learning by doing, small groups working together under youth leadership with appropriate levels of adult assistance for the age group involved, progressive and stimulating programs of varied and challenging activities, and a sense of the value of service to the community. And as you can see, there's great synergy between what we do and Rotary's raison d'etre of service before self. We believe that boys and girls realise their potential best when they're permitted to make mistakes, when those about them believe in them and express confidence in them, when they are permitted to express doubts, when they are with adults who enjoy their company, at least most of the time, and when they are encouraged to take responsible risks. We find that young people emerging from an association with Scouts are better able to plan, organise and operate as confident individuals as well as considerate team players. Question 5. What is a camel's hair brush made of? The basic building block of Scouts is what we call a group, and when complete, that consists of a Joey Scout mob for 6 to 8-year-olds, a Cub Scout pack for 8 to 11-year-olds, a Scout troop for those aged 13 to 15, a Venturous Scout unit for those 14 to 18, and a Rover crew for young adults 18 to 26. The program we deliver is progressive, and the widening interests of young people is catered for as they increase their knowledge and understanding of both the Scout lore and life in general. I was once told by a wise man that the worst indictment that any person could suffer was to be told that they have failed to realise their full potential. We in Scouting do everything that we can to help young people realise that goal. And in pursuing that goal, each member of Scouting promises to do their best. And when all is said and done, what more can we ask of anybody than that they do their best? Question 6. In which month do Russians celebrate the October Revolution? The South Australian branch comprises about 7,000 members, and to minimise the cost of scouting, we have 3 main fundraising businesses that enjoy an annual turnover in excess of $30 million. We are a not-for-profit organisation constituted as an incorporated association under Royal Charter and our own State Act, and all profit generated by our businesses is used to support youth program. Our businesses provide the recurrent income that allows us to do all the things that we need, and at the risk of being chastised by the Chief Commissioner of Scouts in Australia, we here in South Australia offer the best provisioned and cheapest scouting in Australia today. Our largest and most profitable business is, of course, the Scout Recycling Centres, and we have 9 of those depots located throughout the metropolitan area. As you would be aware, the state government introduced container deposit legislation, CDL, in 1978, and that requires a deposit of 10 cents per container to be paid by the general public at point of sale. That money is then taken to a collector, like our Scout Recycling Centre, where the public receives their 10 cents back. The collectors, our Scout Recycling Centre, then takes those to a super collector, which are Coca-Cola Amatil, Lime Nathan, Carlton United Breweries and Busy, where they receive the 10 cents back plus a small handling fee for each item. And it's that small handling fee which represents the profit that we make there. SRC is one of the biggest recycling facilities of CDL in the Adelaide metropolitan area. And it also handles, of course, metals, both ferrous and non-ferrous, as well as paper and plastic. Scouts undertake to care for their environment, and our recycling centres, we believe, is a classic example of the way we are helping our environment. Question 7. Where did kiwi fruit come from? We also run a camping and accommodation centre at Woodhouse, and this Scout Activity Centre is able to be used on a fee-for-service basis by members of the public. It is located on 54 hectares of property in the Piccadilly Valley in the Adelaide Hills and offers arguably the best group accommodation facilities in the state for school camps, conferences and weddings. The heritage-listed Old House at Woodhouse is well worth a look when you're up in the hills. And the third of our business enterprises is the 2 outdoor and camping equipment shops on Rundle Street in Adelaide. The Scout Outdoor Centre offers a comprehensive range of lightweight clothing, footwear and camping products, and the Annapurna Outdoor Shop offers a lifestyle range of gear, and that's not easy to say, and equipment for most demanding trekker and traveller. Question 7. How long did the 30-year war last? So there we have it, a snapshot of the history of scouting and what it is today. And in summary, we are an international movement that remains dedicated to the development of young people. We assist them to become valuable citizens in their respective communities. In Australia, we are currently running at over 60,000 members, and I am delighted to advise that our numbers are increasing. To be part of the world's largest and arguably best youth development organisation is something I view with a great deal of pride. Scouting does build character, and as our founder, Baden Powell, said, by character, I want it understood that I do not merely think of passive self-restraint and self-discipline. It also includes, besides these things, the active desire to do things. It is not merely the being good, but it is also the doing good that counts. So to the last question, what makes Scouting a great youth organisation? Now, I know you're interested. Let's deal with the answers to those questions. Firstly, what animal are the Canary Islands named after? The Latin name for these islands is Insula Canaria, which is the island of the dogs. What was King George VI's first name? Albert. When he came to the throne in 1936, he respected the wish of Queen Victoria that no future king be called Albert. Which country makes Panama hats? Ecuador. How long did the 100-Year War last? 116 years, from 1337 to 1453. What is a camel hair brush made of? Squirrel fur. What month do Russians celebrate the October Revolution? November. The Russian calendar was 13 days behind ours. Where did kiwi fruit come from? They are native to southern China and used to be called Chinese gooseberries. And how long did the 30-year war last? 30 years, of course, from 1618 to 1648. What makes scouting great? Well, folks, everything that I've said today, plus a whole lot more, makes it great. On that note, it goes without saying that we would welcome any of your sons and daughters or grandchildren, if you've reached that stage in life, into our movement. We are always on the lookout for leaders, and more information can be gained by checking our website at www.sa.scouts.com.au or by phoning 1800 Scouts. We've now reached the moment of truth. Who got all those questions that I asked correct? I did have prizes there, folks. Again, Rotarians, I thank you for the opportunity to talk about scouting today, and I close by again quoting our founder, BP, from his last message to Scouts. He said, and I quote, "Happiness does not come from being rich, nor merely from being successful in your career, nor by self-indulgence. The real way to get happiness is by giving out happiness to other people. Try to leave this world a little better than you found it. In this way, you will not have wasted your time, but will have done your best." Thank you.
Probably got time for a couple of questions. We've got a question all the way down there. Is it Colin? No, just putting your hand up. Thanks, Peter.
In view of the ongoing and continuing success of the Girl Guides, can you tell me why girls were admitted into what I joined as a Boy Scout?
Because we're basically democratic. It's a very, very good question. And Girl Guides, of course, are our sister organisation. Notwithstanding, they do pursue a different program to us. And the girls indicated sometime in the 80s that they wished to become involved in something that was more adventurous, more outdoorsy, and involved a greater degree of camping and woodcraft. With that in mind, we welcome them in, and it really is just as a result of the changing sentiments within society. No, nothing more.
Another hand up here? We've got plenty of time. Thanks, Frank.
An excellent speech.
Thank you.
I was a Carpenter Scout, and my perception of what scouting is now, from your presentation, is very different from what I thought it was. It is far more bigger, alive than I ever dreamed it would be. What's made that happen in the last 20 or 30 years?
Of course, there are those males amongst us who say the addition of girls will make anything better. But I think there are a number of things. I mentioned in passing the fact that we use what we call the Scout method. Without going into that too deeply, what we encourage is the youth at the various levels having input into what they do and how they go about their learning process. We do that, we call that the patrol method, and those young people then tell, guide and assist the leadership team to put things together. Now that very input by the youth prevents us from imposing things on our young people that they don't particularly want, and therefore it helps us to remain contemporary and in line with what they want. And I believe that our Scout methodology is perhaps the single best answer to the question, the very good question that you posed.
Okay, we've got time for another question?
Sorry?
Making a comment.
Just come in. Time for another question?
Yes, I have a question. Because of the Scout movement, as you've explained it, does it ever get involved with the police or the Department of Youth or anything regarding recalcitrant youth and bringing them?
We don't have a program as such. We do assist in some ways, and we try to be what we call an inclusive organisation. We run special projects for for young people with special needs, including camps for people with severe disabilities. But we don't get into the corrective assistance, save and except for our program as it is. Having said that, some of our leaders, of course, do become involved with things like Operation Flinders and those type of other organisations in their own right.
Thanks, John. Look, my job, I suppose, to summarise it a bit. Now, there's no debate. Scouts do it all. John presented the rich history and gave you a bit of an understanding of the international involvement. You know, those numbers are huge when you consider how many are involved internationally. It provides a valuable youth development environment. Of course, John talked about the fact that it was supported by an efficient and environmentally friendly, sustainable business in the background. When you think about that recycling scenario. So don't forget to use those Scout recycling centres when you put your bottles in and get something, or drop it off the local Scout hall. My Scout hall still collects bottles, okay, we still recycle them. Okay, I've gone through 4 children, my last one's still in Scouts. I will retire when my Scout retires. It's been fun, I've learned a lot, I can share a few stories. In fact, I'll just take this moment to share one story before I make a presentation to John. But I remember when I first started Scouts, there was this young girl, it wasn't my daughter, it was just another girl, her name was Jasmine. Okay, I said goodbye to Jasmine last night. She's gone off to, other than Scouting, she's finished Scouts, she's achieved her best. But when she came and joined Scouts, she was a little shy girl who I had to almost hold her hand as we did our activities. Okay, she was about 8 or 9. This girl has now come and she was leading a patrol of 8 Scouts. She knew what to do, she was confident, she could speak in front of the group, and in fact she could even, her passion was singing, she can get in front of the Scout troopers. You know how hard it is to sing, the last thing I wanted was sing the anthem here. So we see youth develop by giving them their opportunity. Okay, so I'm still fascinated by what the Scouts does achieve. So everyone, please join with me in thanking John as I present him with that.